Hi guys, last video you saw me adding the physical damage to the helmet after we'd already assembled the pieces. Upon further inspection I found out that the white helmet, which you can see by here, had a couple of little air bubbles and nicks inside the visor. So in this video we're going to focus on filling these in, sanding them smooth. I'll also cover how to wet sand the helmet, and then maybe then in the next videos we can maybe start to get some paint on these things. So what you need for this: body filler, we covered over in the first video, the hardener for the body filler, it's a different style hardener that I use. You're going to need your respirator, so I'll cover everything beforehand, as once you put these things on you can't really, you'll be able to really hear me. Something to mix the stuff with, and something to mix the stuff on. You're also going to need some sandpaper. I've got some 60, and I've got some 120. This basically then will just enough to sand it down, and then we'll go into the wet sanding, which will get all the fine grain out of it. So first of all, what we're going to do, disassemble the helmet. So, with this white one, it's quite a little simple matter of popping the ear cap off. We'll go inside the helmet. We've already bolted everything in. Unscrew the rangefinder arm. And off he'll pop. And we'll unbolt the visors with the Chicago screws that we installed. And then pop the visor out. Now here's the helmet, ready for the Bondo. I say Bondo, it's actually body filler. Bondo's a brand. Okay. So I'm going to put the respirator on now. Basically you want a golf ball size bit of Bondo. Maybe not as much as a golf ball, we don't really need that much. But the general consensus is a golf ball size of Bondo and a pea size amount of hardener will be enough to do it. Right, so I'm going to put the respirator on now. I won't be talking. It'll be pretty obvious what I'm doing by just watching. Oh, before I get into it all, when you apply the Bondo to the helmet, the smoother you put it on, the easier it is to stand. I've seen a lot of people on the RPF and the dented helmet, they just cover the entire thing, like they do in scratch builds. You usually see it with Iron Man helmets. They'll just cover the thing in Bondo. And, you know, start with small amounts, put it on very thinly, sand it, then gradually keep going. Don't just whack it all on, as sanding it will be a nightmare. Right, here we go. I don't know if you can hear me any better. A little bit of Bondo. Right, you should really be using gloves for this. I've never had any problems with Bondo, and even if it gets on my hands, it's a exothermic reaction, so it does get quite hot. But I've never had any problems with it. If I was you, I'd wear gloves. But I don't have any on hand. Pretty bad safety things for me. Right, don't need much. Alright, so here we are. I didn't bother filming the mixing the body filler up and applying it to the helmet. It's just quite a boring thing. Just as long as you remember to put it on nice and smoothly, it'll save you a ton of work when it comes to sanding the actual helmet later on. I've already applied the filler to the interior edges of the visor. You can see it all across here, down in here. That should solve the problem areas. It might need another pass, it might not. What you want to do, before you do anything, your dust mask, because this dust is going to be going everywhere now. So on your dust mask, like so. Now you want to start off with your lowest grit sandpaper. Well, maybe not lowest, but this is 60. I always start with 60, work the way up. You can quite literally at the helmet. So, just sand. Nice smooth movement until you've got the edge all nice and smooth. Most of the filler out. You want to keep sanding until all the filler is gone, and all that'll be remaining then is the filler that's in the gaps and the holes. So got it ready to get the sandpaper. Goes in sharp. Just sand the helmet smooth. Once you've got a majority of it smooth, you want to move up a grit in sandpaper. So I said earlier this is 120, it's actually 80. Then you go up to 120, and then 180 I believe my next one is. With the 180 I get into wet sand, and we'll get into that now, my next little edit. I'll finish up doing this, and then we'll switch to the grey helmet, which needs to be wet sanded, as this is pretty smooth. Right, so on the white helmet we've already sanded out all the Bondo, all the body filler from outside the inside of the visors. But then we move on to the grey helmet. Now the white helmet is a very nice cast, and it doesn't really need too much surface work, but this one not so much. The helmet was already coated in primer. This is why it's a different colour grey. The helmets actually come a pretty much a grey similar to this colour here. This has been primered. I've already gone and hit the helmet with 60 grit, all the way up to 150. So now it's time to wet sand. Now basically what the wet sanding will do, it will get out all the little fine grain on the helmet. It's quite a laborious task. You need to work your way up from the low grits to the high grits. The higher the grit you go, the nice and smooth the helmet will be. Then again, the higher you go, the paint might have some problems adhering to the actual helmet, so I only go as far as 600. So what you need for this, you need some wet and dry paper. Usually it's black, but where I get it from is a nice black colour. And you need some water, hence where the wet comes from. Now for the water, what I do is I mix a little bit of washing up liquid in there. I don't know if you can see it. Now what this does, it helps to lather up the helmet, and it's quite easy then to sand. For this, you don't actually need a respirator. That's because you're using the water and it traps the dust in, and it's not going to fly everywhere. So basically, what you do is you start with the lowest grit you have, which is 180 for me. Rip a bit off. You want to submerge it in the water and start sanding the helmet. I usually go in circular motion, but anything will really do. Just make sure you're nice and thorough while doing it. If the water starts to drain, starts to dry out, get some more. It really helps lather it up with a bit of washing up liquid. And already you can feel the difference between the two edges. Right, so instead of filming me doing this for the next hour, I'll cut to where I've already got the helmet hit with all the grains, and then we can start primering this thing. Well, both of them. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like, really help me out. We'll have some different kinds of videos coming up as well. I've got a nice review review video coming up of a Stormtrooper helmet. Yeah, just going to change it up a bit. So thanks for watching. See you next video.